Hello everyone, it's Maha. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So today I'm going to start this video by reading you the Serenity Creed. Grant me the courage to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So one of the things I think this Serenity Creed tells us is that there are things which we cannot change. And we know this is true both for our inner experiences and also for some of our outer experiences. So the end of December, beginning of January, I did a spread, a 3-card spread using the Shapeshifter's tarot deck by Lisa Hunt. And I got these 3 cards in this particular order. I got number 16, the Serpent, 13, Rebirth, and the 7 of Cups, Desire, the element of water. So first, when I looked at this spread, right away I thought, okay, changes, transformation, and some kind of decision regarding a relationship that I need to make, or a choice. And let me just say first off that I don't pull tarot spreads for myself on a regular basis. I do them once in a while whenever I feel like I need to, whenever I feel guided to, whenever I feel like there are certain shifts and changes going on that I just kind of want to see what's surrounding me, to look ahead, to see where I'm at. And then what I do is I do use oracle decks, oracle cards on a regular basis, on an everyday basis. Sometimes I'll draw even 2 or 3 cards from 2 or 3 different decks a day. And depending on how long I'm working with that certain guidance and message for me, sometimes I'll have a card kind of hanging around with me on my desk or altar for like days, even weeks. And sometimes I only have a card there for a day. I feel like with oracle cards, the messages I get are more sort of like advice and guidance on a kind of everyday or on an everyday basis, whereas with tarot I feel like I pull it for me in a spread when I kind of want to just see a general overall feeling of what I'm going through, or what's taking place in my life. So I really paid attention to this particular spread because whenever major arcanas come up, I really pay attention to that. Especially here, there's 2 of them. So the number 16 Tower card, which is called Serpent in this deck, and the number 13 Death card, which is the Rebirth in this deck. The number 7 of Cups was the one that was a little bit more confusing for me at the time. And it's funny because whenever I pull a certain tarot spread, I never really know exactly how it connects to my life until a little while later when things start happening, you know. I might not know at the time what I'm going through. When I saw this spread, I thought, okay, so obviously I've had some changes happening. I talked about it in some previous videos that in November I was going through a lot of changes with health and things like that, and just feeling the changes in the air. And then later on I started feeling like the number 13 when I did the spread, the number 13 transformation came to me, and I just started reading a whole bunch of alchemical texts, like esoteric alchemy, the transformation of our inner experiences. I was really delving into that, so I thought that I related the Death card to that. I didn't see, though, how it really had some bigger underlying messages for me, and that I was going to be going through huge transformation, and I still am. since I did this card reading. And what happened was about a couple of weeks later, I had to make a really difficult decision to end a 5-year relationship that I've been involved in. And that was really difficult. But when that happened, then the number 7 of Cups really made sense. So it's, it never fascinates me. It never ceases to fascinate and amaze me how accurate oracle cards and tarot readings are in regards to my life, and how they have a way to access those deep answers which we already know but we can't consciously think of, and they bring those to the surface, those hidden messages to the surface. I love that about doing any kind of reading, whether it's every day or even a spread. So I wanted to share this with you guys, and I really just felt like, why am I sharing this? But I really felt like I needed to talk about change at this time. And because I've been getting these cards that have been giving me similar messages every single day, all the time, same messages, no matter what decks I use, I started seeing all the patterns, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna just talk about it because I think this is pretty important to talk about. And of course, maybe someone out there is feeling these changes and shifts in their life. So all the oracle cards that I've been pulling, like I said, kind of have been following the same pattern. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I'm just going to talk about some key ones. So starting with, I'm going to come back to the spread in a moment because I do want to talk about that. So just remember which cards I pulled. So starting with this card. This is a card from the Goddess Affirmations. Oh, I can't remember exactly. I think it's called Goddess Affirmation. By the way, I'm going to put all of the decks that I'm using, plus the books that I mentioned, I'm going to put them all in the description box for you. So this one is, I've never been familiar with this goddess. It's the first time I worked with this deck. I've had this deck for a long time, and I pulled her, Pajao Yan, and the message is quite strong. What I love about this deck is that it gives you like a really very clear message, affirmation on the bottom. This one says, no matter what changes may come, you will be at peace, Lady Moon. And I loved this message. This card, since I pulled it, which was just about a couple of weeks after that spread, it's been on my altar. Every day I look at it, every morning I read it, because I really needed to hear that message. This is what I mean about oracle cards. They always give me a message that kind of pulls me through hard times and connects me again with myself, with spirit, and they validate where I'm at in my life. They validate the fact that I'm doing the right thing, and they just go so hand in hand with my life. So this particular deck, by the way, it's very beautiful, and I'm going to talk about this more in detail in another video, but the artwork is super awesome, super pretty, and she's such a great artist, Kris Waldherr. Just a shame that the images are not bigger. But so after this, I have been pulling cards that have been giving me the same theme, how to handle changes peacefully, and messages about how to do that. So for example, this one on the left is Wizard of Awareness, and this one is the Well Watcher. Those two are both Colette and Reid decks. The map, the one on the left is the Enchanted map. This one is the Wisdom of the Hidden Realm. So the number 3, Wizard of Awareness. First of all, basically, as soon as I saw that, I thought, okay, so one thing I've been doing a lot has been mindfulness meditation. I've been really working on that. I've been really working on being aware of my feelings, of my thoughts, and I found that that's really grounding. It really helps to ground me. So mindfulness teaches me awareness, and as soon as I saw that card, I thought, Wizard of Awareness, this is my lesson. I just keep doing my awareness practices. Awareness, I think, to me, allows me to be mindful of my thoughts and experiences, both inner and outer, so that I know I have control over my thoughts and I can choose my thoughts. But the issue of control is very important here, and that's the key thing that I wanted to talk about, is that how much, I ask myself, how much of my experiences am I in control of? Because I'm the kind of person who likes to be in control. I've always been really mind-oriented, even though I am very intuitive. I feel like my challenge has always been to not let my conscious mind take over too much, feeling like I'm always in control of everything that's happening in my life. So what I love about mindfulness is that it teaches me to accept things, everything, as a part of my whole experience, and without having the need to want to change things, just accept the entire experience. And then the Well Watcher theme has been coming up a lot, which is that wisdom and the power, it says here, wisdom and the power of the divine, the wisdom of the inner deep source, the well, the source, the deep source of water being your imagination and intuition, and trusting that. And to me, that's kind of been, the Well Watcher has been about trusting my inner senses, my dreams, the wisdom that's inside me, which connects me to the power of the divine. Again, the letting go of control, letting go of wanting to change, wanting things to be different from how they actually are, just accepting things as they are, and then being peaceful while this is all happening, tells me that there is peace. You can find peace within chaos at the same time. These are really difficult things, and I'm just still learning them, like I said. So that's basically the theme that's been coming up over and over and over again, even in decks, which I would never think would directly give me that message. For example, I've been using the animal cards a lot. And the very first card I drew from my bird cards was the owl. And then, literally, and I know you guys, it sounds very exaggerated, but I know those of you who use oracle cards, you know what I mean. But 2 days later, I drew another owl card from my Animal Wisdom deck, which I love. This one is a masked owl, and it says Insight, Wisdom, Foresight, Messenger. So first, when I drew this one, this was the first one I drew, I thought, that's interesting, because I've never really been very drawn to the owl, let's say, first of all. Not that I don't think it's an amazing creature. It is such an amazing creature. And first of all, I love birds, so I love all birds. But I was never really one of those pagans or any one of those people who was really drawn to the owl. The owl and the raven are very popular for witches and pagans, and I never really was drawn to the owl. But when I drew this card, I thought maybe the owl is with me in my dreams. I felt that the wisdom of the owl is coming through for me in my dreams, because I have to tell you guys that when I broke up with that relationship, which was my 5-year relationship back in January, I've obviously been feeling pretty awful during the days, and sometimes I go through, feeling of judgments, of regret, feeling that maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't the right thing, and all of a sudden thinking of all the good memories, and oh no, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe this, maybe that. Doubt, a lot of doubt. And then when I sleep during my dream time, I'm having such healing dreams where I'm so sure that what I did was the right thing. So, for example, even in my dreams, I even get scenarios and situations. I dream them where my ex and I are together, and I see all these things that are not right and not for my highest good, and really pointing to my dreams are just really telling me, look, you did the right thing. So I wake up in the morning you know, while I'm dreaming, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know, good thing I broke up with him. And then I wake up in the morning and I think, wow, thank you. You know, that I feel so cleansed, so regenerated, so revitalized, so really, really like healed. I feel like these dreams are so healing. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna read you what it says about the owl in a moment, because this was all before I even read the book, which is an amazing book, by the way, too. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna work with the owl. I want to bring the owl to my life on a regular basis, on a every day, like a daylight basis, not just during my days. I want to be reminded of the wisdom of the owl. I want to remind myself that the owl is inside me, it's with me, it's helping me, it's healing me. So then I thought about making an owl sort of medicine bag or something. I wasn't really sure what to do exactly. And then I went to my book, which is called the Herbal Alchemist handbook. And I'm going to list that again, as I said in the box here. And I was searching for herbs and crystals about the moon. I was thinking maybe I should make a medicine bag to get the energy of the owl and the moon working together for me. But I felt that there was a missing ingredient. Something wasn't there. Something else needed to be added to the mix. And then, just randomly, well, nothing is random, but I came across Pluto, the meaning of Pluto. And I read something which just rang the bell for me. I'm going to read it for you. It's just very short here about Pluto in this book, The Herbal Alchemist. So it says, the current and most intuitively workable hypothesis defines Pluto as a planet of sex, death, and regeneration, of things hidden and subterranean, those primordial forces of evolution and inner compulsion that can present and express themselves through the shadow aspect of the personality. Pluto is considered to be the higher aspect of the energies of Mars. So as soon as I read that, all of a sudden, I came back to what I read in the book. And I thought, wow, okay, so it's not just about the moon here. We're also talking about Pluto with the owl. So I'll read you very briefly what it says in here, the guidebook of the bird cards, about the owl. And when I read that, I thought, okay, this is it. This is Pluto. This is Pluto and the moon speaking to me right here. If you've chosen this card today, there are subterranean movements in your life that are bringing about some kind of change. Be mindful of this and know that whatever is coming has its own timing. Relax and allow greater forces than your own will to move mountains for you. Very interesting. So again, that comes back to being mindful, letting go of needing to control, and letting the divine to be there. And also that subterranean, that word actually came up in this book as well, which was very interesting. So now I'm going to read you a paragraph from this deck, the animal, the secret language of animals. If there is an unknown space between where you currently are and where you want to be, Owl's insight and silent wisdom will guide your passage. Owl calls for you to quiet your mind by slowing down your senses. Become a silent observer. Listen with your inner ear and see with eyes that look within. Remove yourself from the noise of life and come to a place of darkness where your eyes can turn inward for a time. Give yourself a chance to breathe deeply and find peace in the shadows and silence in the inner cave of your being. Allow your fears to rise to the surface and see them for what they really are, windows to new possibilities. As your eyes adjust, you will come to realize that from this place of deep stillness, both shadow and light can be seen, and the power of both can be embraced. healed, and woven together to feel your higher path. This is very interesting because so much of Pluto comes up, and so much of what I said about this inner guidance, awareness, being an observer, and also even the words that they use. I want to just bring your attention, you guys, to so much of what I'm reading for you. These words that I'm coming up, bouncing up against over and over, like healed and stillness, darkness, shadow, all these things I'm going to bring up again when I talk to you about Pluto in a minute, because Pluto it's a controversial planet. It's one that in astrology is quite controversial, and it needs to be discussed here. I always felt that for me, Pluto was a planet that I turned away from, and I was a bit, afraid of Pluto. Everybody's afraid of Pluto because Pluto is very dark. But now I wanted to really face Pluto, really work with Pluto's energies instead of running away from it. So what I then decided to do is to make a bag. It's not really a medicine bag, but sort of. I guess it is. So this is a black velvet cloth that I'm using. And I'm going to show you some items just quickly before I move ahead. Okay, so right here, this is a very special little chime. Okay, here we go. Charm. This is my owl charm. And I've had this little owl charm since I was little. So quickly, I just have to tell you the story of this because it's very interesting. This little owl comes from Iran. When I was a child growing up in Iran, I got this in a chocolate egg surprise, one of those chocolate egg, Easter egg surprises. And I have no idea why I kept this owl and how it ended up in Canada so many years later. But I know that I kept it for a reason. I know I never really, like I said, was too attracted to the owl for any specific reason. I mean, I always loved animals, but I just, I wasn't really that into owls. And when we came here from Iran many years ago with my family, we left most of our belongings behind. We had to come in a sort of emergency. We had to flee the country because at the time there was a war happening and my brother was being sent to war, so we had to basically run away. And as you can imagine, my parents had 4 of us, 4 kids. They could only bring a few suitcases. So I didn't have a lot of space to bring in my toys and my clothes. And actually, I didn't really care either because I wanted to come to North America and buy new stuff. I was all excited about that. But for some reason, I brought this owl. It's included in my precious things that I brought with me. And I only discovered this owl is somehow churned up. You know, when things churn up, somehow you just find things. I found it in my closet about less than a year ago. And I thought, I'm going to put the owl on my altar for good luck because owls they represent wisdom. I'm going to put it on my altar. But I never really knew its significance until now. So I feel like it was just waiting for me, patiently, sitting there for the right time. And now is the right time. So I'm going to make a little medicine bag, little sachet bag. I'm going to include herbs from Pluto and the moon. I'm going to, I think I'm going to put in chamomile, and comfrey for the moon, and for Pluto I'm going to put in grains, some grains, oatmeal probably because I like oatmeal, and grains are linked to Pluto because of Demeter, mother of Persephone. She is the goddess of the grains, and that's how it's linked to that. And I'm going to include myrrh because I love myrrh. Patchouli is also a Pluto oil, but I don't really like patchouli. So I'm going to include those, and then I'm going to put in a pearl for owl because I love the ocean. I love pearls. It just reminds me of the ocean, and the ocean connects me to the mother goddess of intuition and memory and wisdom of the ocean. And I just, like I said, I adore the ocean. I'm going to put in a little rose quartz just for cleaning energies and bringing love. And I'm going to put in obsidian, black obsidian, snowflake obsidian. I love snowflake obsidian, and volcanic glass is Pluto's realm. So I'm going to make that with some oils that I'll make myself, some little prayers, and that's going to be carried with me. I'm thinking either like a necklace, or to carry like close to my heart, or a belt. I'm going to take a thin chain that I have, and I'm going to put it around my, like just underneath the waist. And what I'm thinking is that this pouch is going to hang just right underneath my belly and like about 2 inches below my belly. And the reason for that is because a lot of times when I meditate, I focus on the area just 2 inches below my belly, because that's just so grounding. And for some reason, that always makes me feel so peaceful. And I thought that when I hang that in that spot, as it touches that area throughout the day, it just constantly reminds me of the owl and my intent and my need to be grounding to that area constantly on a regular basis, like during the day, to connect me to the wisdom and the insight of the owl, because the owl can see so clearly at night. It's during the day that it's a nocturnal animal, so I want to be reminded of the owl in me during the day, in the daytime. So now I want to talk for this part a little bit about Pluto. And I'm going to come back to the cards that I drew in the beginning when I showed you, but I'm going to show you the Rider-Waite cards. So this is the Tower, number 16. Number 13, the Death card. And I'm not going to show the Seven of Cups, but I have the Judgment card here. So these 3 cards in tarot are linked to Pluto. And as we know, these 3 cards in tarot are quite challenging, yet, in my opinion, really powerful. I mean, just the images themselves are so powerful. Those are probably the 3 of the most powerful major arcana cards, or just cards, in the tarot system, as I'm sure you'd agree. So the number 16 card, Tower card, is Mars. It's linked to the planet Mars. And like I said, Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. Every personal planet has its higher octave and its personal representation. So for example, Mercury links to Uranus. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Mars is the higher octave of Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. So the Tower card to me is Mars in Scorpio. Pluto in modern astrology rules Scorpio. Mars in traditional astrology rules over Scorpio. And usually modern astrologers count both Mars and Pluto to be the ruler of Scorpio. The second card, Death card, is linked to Scorpio. And then the Judgment card is linked to Pluto. So as you look at these cards, very powerful cards, I'm going to talk about Scorpio a little bit, and maybe you can just see what you can find in the symbolism of tarot and to the meaning that you already know about Pluto and Scorpio, about these cards. That's what I meant to say. I'm assuming that you don't know astrology. If you do know astrology, that's great. And if you don't, I'm just trying to be very simple as possible. This is also a little teaser for you, as I will be doing more actual instructions on tarot and astrology coming up, but this is just a little teaser. So Scorpio rules over the 8th house in traditional astrology. In astrology, the 8th house is the house of shared resources, which means both money and partnerships and sex. So sharing our bodies. This is why it's related to sex, because sharing our bodies, anything we share. It's also the house that rules over death and rebirth. Pluto rules Scorpio, and like I said, Mars rules Scorpio in traditional astrology. Mars in Scorpio in astrology represents chaos and upheaval, change and regeneration. Mars is a planet that represents regeneration in medical astrology as well. Pluto and Mars both represent power and control. To me, the tower itself has always been kind of like a metaphor for the body, and I've always felt that its walls represent structures that we build around ourselves to define who we are. And when these walls break down for some reason, through change, for example, it's almost like we have to find ourselves again, almost like we have to rebuild ourselves again. Pluto / Hades, Hades is Pluto in Greek mythology, is the god of the underworld. Hades is the god of the underworld. And Hades rules everything that's down, deep under, things we can't access consciously. So in astrology, Pluto, as well as the other two outer planets like Neptune and Uranus, is referred to as a planet of the collective. We experience the collective planets both personally and collectively as a species. So we go through them all of us might go through, because Pluto is all those outer planets are slow moving, so we go through those experiences collectively. Pluto is our primal survival instincts. So what we carry in our genes, what we have passed on through our genes since dinosaur times. And it's our destiny, it's the things we can't control. It's the fates, or the Moira in Greek mythology. And it's all the stuff of the underworld, including the dark and dirty, the things that we don't want to face that happen collectively, like murder, rape, torture. It's all of this and more. It's empowerment and transformation. Not only transformation, but transformation of the soul. By the way, this came to me in one of my dreams, that it is the transformation of the soul and the healing, more importantly, of the soul. When we go down to the underworld, we come back reborn and empowered, regenerated. So all of those things that I said, you can perhaps link to the meanings of some of these cards. We can think of judgment, for example. What kind of things do we judge? And then we can think of awakening, coming back from the underworld. So I'm going to talk from now till the end of my video. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to look at fate and free will, as Pluto represents fate. And I think it's important to ask ourselves how much we are in control. How much do we hand over to the Moira, these powerful goddesses whom not even Zeus himself could stand against? And exactly what do we have control over in our lives? Are we trying to control even our physical pains, or are we able to accept it all as a part of our experience? In the meantime, surrendering the need to control and letting everything be just as it is a powerful place to be, even though it's not an easy place to be. I think I just wanted to mention that if you are somehow going through a Pluto transit or experiencing the energy of Pluto, if you feel that that's what's happening in your life, a lot of changes and things that you just can't keep up with, remember to be gentle with yourself. Give yourself kindness and self-compassion as you're going through the difficulties in your life. And if you ever catch yourself judging yourself or even the situation, give love to the judgment too. Even our shadow parts need love. And I feel actually that that's what they're there for. They're there to be loved so that they can teach us, to illuminate our paths, teach us our lessons. And more importantly, listen to the wisdom of your dreams. For example, here right here on the top, I have a few of my calcite collection crystals because a few nights ago I had a dream where I was told in my dream to meditate with calcite because calcite is good when one goes through change. And in my dream I actually heard that you have all the colors of the rainbow, use them. And then I was shown individually all my calcites, and I even woke up smiling. So I woke up the next day, of course, I went and dug up all my calcites, which I have in different colors for the chakras, and I set them on my altar to do a meditation, chakra meditation. It's really important to listen to your dreams. If your dreams tell you to do something, do them, write them down, do them, and the more you do that, the more your dreams will speak to you. So just before I take you to the next part of my video, which by the way is going to be another separate video, part 2, continuing this one, because I just realized this video is too long, I wanted to revisit the owl just for a moment and connect that to what we've already talked about the meaning of Pluto and death and transitioning and changes. So here I'll just read you a very short few lines from The Masked Owl, the guidebook of the secret language of animals. It goes, because of her unique nocturnal sense and skill, Owl has often been seen as the guardian of the underworlds. In ancient Egyptian, Celtic, and Hindu cultures, Owl was the ruler of the night, seer of the soul, sacred guide to those crossing from physical world into the realm of spirit. That was from this guidebook here. And I'm going to read you from the bird cards a few lines before we go on. Traditionally, the owl brings forewarning of a death, but it is more likely the death of a way of living, an important transition on its way. Happy events are just as often presaged by an owl's appearance as transitions are. Soul work involves delving deeply into one's own unconscious to root out deeply embedded, and it says negative patterns, but I'm just going to say deeply embedded patterns because I believe it's all patterns, not just negative ones. And again, what is negative if we really think about it? Okay, so I hope I see you in part 2. I'm going to show you a spread. It's called the Fate and Free Will spread and talk a little bit more about what we've already discussed. See you soon.